Zoom. Okie doke. So thanks again, everybody, for popping on. It'll probably be a shorter meeting. We only have a couple, like one presentation and then an update, a couple updates from the staff side of things. So I think most of us know each other, but let's go ahead and do a round of introductions. So I'll start. So hey everybody, Sheila Scalaro, Community Program Scientist with the Tampa Bay Estuary Program. Carly, do you want to go and maybe call on the next person to go and we kind of do it like that?
Yeah. I am Carly Jones. I am the Science Communication Coordinator with TBET. Jan, you're next on my screen.
Jan, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm Jan Allen and I am representing Pinellas County. I'm Pinellas County appointee on the committee. And Sue.
Hi, I'm Sue Brandon and I'm representing the city of Oldsmar where I live, upper part of the bay. Oh, Nadine, you're up there with me.
Have to find the control. Nadine Nickerson, representing City of Safety Harbor and enjoying everything but the heat in Chautauqua, New York. Went to a lake conference last weekend. Elizabeth, you popped up, so you're next.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Warner from Vista Gardens in Tampa.
If you want to call on somebody else to introduce themselves, you want me to do that for you?
Oops. I thought I already did introduce myself. Did you not hear it?
Nope, you're great. Liz, you want to go?
Sure, I'll
Okay.
go. Hi, I'm Liz Nail. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay, there I am. I've been absent a little while. I was previously employed with the Florida Wildlife Corridor Foundation as their gallery manager, and I resigned to finish my thesis. I'm getting a graduate master's in sustainability and currently graduating this summer. So I've had a little absence from this crew, but I'm here again.
We're glad you're back, Liz.
Congratulations.
Absolutely. Jessica, you're up.
Hello, Jessica, she or they programs. I'm the community projects manager at the Tampa Bay Estuary Program. And Shelby, I don't think you've gone.
Hi, I'm Shelby Rosengarten. I'm actually not entirely sure how I got invited to this other than offering to be maybe an at-large member, but I also teach at St. Petersburg College. So, and I've attended some of the programs you guys have had. So.
Awesome, welcome. And then Cynthia.
Thing on and my volume apparently. So hi, I'm Cynthia Grizzle. I've been a member here for a little while now, but I'm an environmental consultant and I actually own my own company and I work here out of Safety Harbor and do all kinds of fun things. So that's me.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for being here and for introducing yourselves. So first up on the agenda, I can pull it back up. We have Elizabeth Warner with Vista Gardens here to present on their project, their Bay Mini Grant project. We invited Elizabeth to present on this project because the CAC actually selected them as one of the Golden Mangroves for this year. I don't know if anybody on the Golden Mangrove Review Committee wants to say anything about the project before Elizabeth does her presentation. No? Okie doke. Well,
It
with
was a
that,
fantastic project.
Well, thank you.
alrighty, with that, Elizabeth, you are welcome to take it away.
All right, let's see if I can do this technical stuff. So share my screen. Let's see. Okay. All right. Slideshow. All right. Hold on a sec. Give me a second. Okay, slideshow. No, let's see. What am I doing wrong here?
Just click on from beginning.
From beginning. Okay, perfect. Can you see
There
it
you
now?
go.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Feel free to ask questions if you'd like. So this is about a woodland restoration project we did at Vista Gardens. The picture is sort of our inspiration. This is a terrestrial orchid, Habanera floribunda, which we happened to see one day walking in the woods, and that sort of started all this. So Vista is a community garden in North Tampa. It's on Hillsborough County property. It happens to be the site of a former water treatment plant. And about 10 years ago, some neighborhood folks asked the county if they could start a community garden there. So the majority of the effort in the community garden is on the plots in the center of this photo on the left. There's 63 gardens or 63 plots where most of the members grow veggies for their household. There's also 3 native plant gardens surrounding the veggie gardens to help with pollination. But it just so happens that on the southwest corner, there's a woodland area, which had not really received much attention until one day we started like digging in the woods. And it turns out it is a wetlands area. So that's where the project took place. Vista Gardens is off the grid, which means we don't have electricity. We have some solar panels, which help operate a pump where we get our water and our entrance gate. So yeah, so this is our property. This is the left is a Google Maps aerial view, and the right is a county view showing where the wetland area is. So it turns out that there's several members of our garden who are experts in native plants, and they've been sort of instrumental in teaching most of us what we know. Yeah, so in the center of the woodland area is a beautiful cypress swamp. Originally, it was kind of hard to get there because you had to walk through a mass of tangled Brazilian peppers. But once you get in there, it's very majestic. It's almost like a cathedral where there's beautiful cypress trees and royal ferns, and it's just beautiful. So that area actually looked pretty nice, but surrounding it was covered with non-native invasive plants. And it was so thick you couldn't hardly walk back there. The majority of the vegetation was, I would say, mature Brazilian pepper. You can see on the drawing on the right, they're sort of gnarled and tangled and multi-lobed. So that's what we were dealing with. On the photo on the left, you can see a marsh fern, which is endemic to Florida, and it's quite abundant in the area. So we, knowing that we were in a wetland area, we did a little research and found out that we were supposed to get a permit from the county to remove what they called nuisance vegetation. So we did, and it got approved. And we began our work. And it turns out that Vista has a very robust volunteer program. And during the school year, every 2 weeks on a Sunday, we get volunteers from the USF Rotaract Society or whatever. And they sort of took a liking to our project, and they did pretty much the brunt of the difficult labor. And then about once a month, we'd get a local high school that would come in for service hours and work with us as well. And what we learned was that to make the most of these volunteer times, it was helpful to get prepared. And even though we would show them what a Brazilian pepper looked like, or what a camphor tree or another non-native plant would look like, it was much easier if we marked them in advance. So we spent a lot of time during the week going through the woods and marking the plants with orange tape. So the first picture, you can see me marking some stuff. That's kind of how it looked. The second picture is a typical, again, gnarly Brazilian pepper. And believe it or not, that was completely dug out. And there's some other, on the right, there's some other, I think those are some small camphor trees and various other stuff. So after we marked the stuff, the students came in. If you'll see the tool on the left, that's a weed wrench, which we bought with our grant. And it made it easy to remove small trees that had diameters less than 2 inches. And it was kind of fun. It was almost like a tool. It seemed it was like pulling a tooth, but the students could get in there and pull out a small tree in a matter of a minute or two. For the really big stuff, like you see on the right, the weed wrench wouldn't work. And what we found that worked well was if we took some loppers and cut off the top of the tree so we could get in there, then they could dig it out easier and haul it off. Then the fellow on the right loved coming here. He brought his own axe. So you can see a picture of him, but he was kind of like the leader of the USF team. So like I said, every 2 weeks, these guys came and spent a couple hours with us chopping away. And the main non-native vegetation we had was the Brazilian pepper. Again, a picture here. It's actually not a bad looking tree. If you look at it, it has pretty white flowers and then red berries. The picture in the middle is a young man who is a summer volunteer, and he's showing the difference between the Brazilian pepper that's on our left and the elderberry that's on our right, which is also very common in the woods. And both are compound leaves with odd numbers, and it may be a little tough to tell the difference. But if you get up close and you look at the Brazilian pepper leaf on the right, you'll see the veins at the edge of the leaf have forks in them, which are not present on the elderberry. So that was helpful. So anyways, we marked the trees and worked on getting rid of them. Pretty much we had probably about 80% of the trees removed in the first few months. And that was good because it was January, February, March when it was cooler and we had a dumpster. We found lots of other non-native invasive plants, but in general, they were much easier to remove. Caesar weed, you could easily pull it out. Chinese tallow, there weren't many and they could be chopped down pretty easy. Air potato vine, another story. And Japanese climbing fern is a little bit tricky because the spores are easily spread. Virtually all of the tree and invasive plant removal was mechanical, using shovels and or the weed wrench. Here's an example in January of digging up one of these Brazilian peppers with the multi-stemmed branches and pretty thick roots, although they weren't very deep, so they were relatively easy to get out. However, some of the Brazilian peppers were in an area where it was hard to dig them out because they were either on a hill or in the swamp or right next to the swamp. And we were fortunate to have help from Oyster River Ecology. They came by one April Sunday and volunteered, and one of their staff turned, or maybe two of them are woodlands ecologists. So they showed up, they brought some Roundup or glyphosate and we used 8 ounces of it one day during the year. But you can see what we did was after a Brazilian pepper was freshly cut, they carefully painted around the cambium layer of the tree, and that's that. So it wasn't any nondescript spraying all over the place. So we did compromise a little bit with 8 ounces of Roundup one day, but that's not too bad, I don't think. Anyways, now after we tore down or cut out the Brazilian pepper, we had huge piles of trees and debris, and luckily there was a dumpster on the property that the neighborhood HOA was paying for. So for the first 6 months, we were able to put our debris in the dumpster and off it would get hauled. And every month we filled this thing up. It was 30 cubic feet. And you can see one of the students actually hopped in the dumpster and was stepping around to compact it so we could get enough stuff in it, because we filled it up and we were eagerly waiting each month for them to come and empty it. Anyways, after 6 months though, the neighborhood HOA removed the dumpster because they realized they weren't getting what they weren't really using it and they didn't need it. So we just had a big pile of debris to deal with, and we made a big pile, and then actually later this year in 2025 the county hauled it off for us. So once all the debris was removed, oh my gosh, we found beautiful stuff on the property. On the left, the picture shows the pond cypress. There's elderberry on the top right. There's a wax myrtle on the bottom right, and I think that's a red maple in the middle. Yeah. And then there's actually a lot of beautiful shrubs and flowers there that we didn't even know about. There's rouge plant, the terrestrial orchid, a sawtooth blackberry, which is a native blackberry to Florida that is present in wet areas. Of course, beautyberry, palmetto, and then buttonbush, which also is a wetland plant. And my personal favorite, there's at least 9 native ferns that were present on the property when we started working. Yeah, so we're going to be, they're very beautiful, and it's sort of an interesting thing. And a lot of people, it's not so easy to find all these ferns in one place. So we're currently working on making a trail to go back to the fern area so people can see it. So in addition to sort of allowing the native plants that were there to grow, we augmented the plants with stuff we introduced, all of which were native. The very first week in January, we propagated some scarlet hibiscus, and it took a few months, but they germinated and we planted them. And we'll show you a picture of one of those in a minute, but we bought a bunch of plants. We took things that were growing well, like the Fakahatchee grass, and we divided it and spread it around. So we did a lot of different ways to get the planting done within our budget. We had quite a bit of plants donated from some garden clubs, a nursery, some members of the Florida Native Plant Society. So we took anything anybody would give us and found a place for it. And probably one of the secrets is you got to know what your soil is like, and your whether it's moist or dry, whether it's shady or sunny. So we tried to plant everything that would be at home and would thrive where we planted it. So it turns out on the property, there's wetland, there's sort of moist, there's a couple dry areas, and there's quite a bit that's understory that's shady. So depending on where we were planting, we selected different plants to fit the location. So this is one of our favorite spots on the left. It's a sort of a swampy area. And there really wasn't much in it. You can see what it looks like. And a woman from the Native Plant Society donated a bunch of stuff from her backyard. We bought a bunch of stuff, and you can see this is what it looked like when we started working on it. And on the right, you can see it a few months later with the golden canna, some rush, Carolina willow, a whole bunch of plants going. And all this stuff we watered a little bit in the beginning, although this stuff didn't need to be watered much because it was wet during the spring. So anyway, so this is a nice sort of a wetlands planting. The first picture and the picture on the left and the picture on the right, both were plants that we started with seeds. This is a pink milkweed on the left. At the end of the summer, it was just covered with monarchs. On the right was scarlet hibiscus, which we started from seeds. And that's in the middle is a loblolly bay, which we purchased. Average soil plants probably aren't as flashy, but we found stuff that really seemed to like the location, such as I have in mental black on that lyre leaf sage, Backahatchee grass. That's a small holly. Oh, that's a salt bush. Yeah, salt bush. Understory areas, we had to select stuff that didn't need sun. You know, wild coffee for sure is a great one there. Doesn't take much water. The fetterbush was a bit of a challenge. The red mulberries are doing good. So we had quite a variety of plants. Now there's no irrigation in the property anywhere. So what we did in the spring and part of the summer was we made up a rotation. So the people on the committee would each get a week where they would be in charge of watering if it didn't rain. And we had some rain barrels. We made this one in the middle, on the kind of in the edge of the property, and added a tarp to it, which has now been replaced to help increase the surface area for which we could gather the water, because just by itself, it wouldn't have much water in it. But with a 6 by 8 foot tarp over it, we calculated that 1 inch of rain could get us 30 gallons of water. Most of our watering was done the old fashioned way with these watering cans. So it was a bit laborious. It seemed like in the summer we were watering and weeding. That's mainly what we did. We tried to develop some educational projects to explain what we were doing and what we had learned. We invited a gardener from the Denver Botanical Garden on the left, and he gave us a big spiel on compost. We had several tours where we had garden clubs or schools or scouts come, and we would take them around the property and show them stuff. We made a brochure where we took photos of common invasives that were on the property and explained, had pictures and explained a little bit about them so that people could use that in their home or in their neighborhoods. And then we started an iNaturalist project called Vista Woodlands. It's a work in progress where we're listing how many different plants that we found there. It's a little tricky because for sure all the stuff that was there when we started belongs on there, but the stuff we planted will probably be in the cultivated description, at least until they propagate later on their own. Some of the metrics, we ended up having about 25 volunteer events throughout the year 2024. We had about 58 students, like high school. I think we had a couple middle schools, and we had one little elementary school that came by. We had 82 adults during the year, not counting our own members, but people from the community. Each Tuesday, we have a work day where the committee works every Tuesday morning, and that's still going on. And over the year, I think we logged a bit over 1,100 volunteer hours. We removed a lot of debris. We got the dumpster filled 6 times and removed that, and there was still more. In total, we ended up planting about 93 different species, over 500 plants. We have a spreadsheet that we're maintaining that lists what was present on site and what we've added. And we got almost $700 worth of donated plants during the year. The Tampa Bay Estuary Program sign is still up because we're still very pleased that we were able to participate in the grant. Here you can see where we're making a trail on the bottom right picture back to the woodlands, back to the wetlands, and various and sundry plants are in here. If you see the colored flags, those are the ones that probably have been recently planted that need some watering. And to wrap it up, on the left here is a picture of the Woodland Committee. This is our Tuesday morning gang. A logo from the mini grant and a sign for our garden. So we were thrilled to be able to participate in the program. I think we got out, we learned a lot about it, and we were able to hopefully share our knowledge and enthusiasm with others, and we're still working on it. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Elizabeth, for presenting such a great overview of your project. Jessica does have a few questions. I'm not sure if you're available to, Jessica, to unmute and ask your questions.
Yeah. So I don't know who was at the last CAC meeting, but I mentioned that there was a project that kind of had excess tools that they don't necessarily need year round. This is the project I was mentioning about like potentially having some sort of partnership with the tool library. So Liz or Elizabeth, this is not necessarily a question. I just wanted to sort of refresh people on that. The couple questions that I had were, had y'all ever considered like a prescribed burn in this area instead of manual removal?
No, we never considered it.
Okay.
It's county property.
Yeah.
And it's not that big, and it's right near some residential stuff.
Yeah.
So I think because it's so close to a bunch of condos, it wouldn't be a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious if I'm curious about in general smaller spaces like this and if they are appropriate for prescribed burns or not. But that's just something that I need to do a little more digging in, I think.
Yeah, I think safety is a big concern, and it's my understanding it has to be somewhere where the wind's not going to blow and hit the neighborhood, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
And minor details,
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of wanted to. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Do you think that would be like a good, maybe to get some of like the local municipalities to come into a CAC meeting and maybe invite some ongoing Bay Mini Grant projects?
Yeah,
to talk
maybe
about
not.
the opportunities that could present, or how we could work together to make something like that happen for
Do you
future
mean
projects.
specifically prescribed burns for future projects?
Yeah, or like what,
Yeah.
like if we could work together to come up with some sort of like SOP for small spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I do think that really small areas can get prescribed burns, but there are so many moving pieces like permits and permissions and notification. So yeah, maybe that could be like a future presentation by either the county, or there are also private companies that do the prescribed burns that the counties often hire. So maybe that's something to talk about and think about for a future meeting.
The USF Forest has prescribed burns
Mhm.
every so often, and they actually have a team. So when they're going to do a burn, I think they're doing one this week or soon. Anyways, they have a team, so that might be a
Yeah.
resource.
Yeah, and a next question that I had was just from the project management standpoint, y'all had a lot of moving parts, like when to plant from seed, when to move transplants, like volunteer days, seasons, watering. So how did you keep that straight? Because I'm looking to pass on advice to other
Oh,
project
well, so our committee met in the very beginning and then every 2 or 3 months. And we would set our goals for the next like 2 months. And so like we would have an agenda and these are what we need to do in the next 2 or 3 months. So that's sort of how we did it. And then we had a lot of spreadsheets.
Yeah.
We had a lot of spreadsheets about what we planted and the volunteer hours and whether it was, internal, external. So we did that. And we made up a calendar for the watering. So, I think it was because we met like every 2 or 3 months and planned out the next couple of months.
Cool. And it was just like the small committee that met.
Yes, it was pretty much the 4 people here, plus or minus 2 or 3 more sometimes. Like sometimes the president would come and such, but it was pretty much these were the 4 of us that mainly did the work. Yeah. We didn't do the hard work. We had students doing the really hard work, but we planned it. And Vicki on the left is a master gardener, and she's like an expert on native plants. So she knew she was the one who she was sort of in charge of the plant selection and where they would go. We all learned, along, but she kind of knew all that stuff.
Cool.
So it's like a local expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so breaking your project down into smaller time frames, working on that.
Right. Well, in the very beginning, our first priority starting in January, we didn't really worry about anything except for getting rid of Brazilian pepper. And that's what we did like for 3 months. Now we did a few, other than we planted some like little seeds, but mainly the first 3 months was Brazilian pepper. Until we got rid of that, we couldn't really do anything else.
Sure. Yeah. That's a big thing to tackle.
Yeah. And then we did most of our planting in the late spring and early summer, hoping to get most of it in before the rain would start.
Right.
And then once the rain started, it was weeding. Yeah. And then, in the fall, it was more cleanup and, finish up this and that and the other.
Great. Thank you. Shelby, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Sure. I was wondering if you mentioned having some different visitors. If one of the groups maybe was the Pinellas Master Gardeners Club. My mom is part of that, and she's been part of it for a long time. And I know they do a lot of not only updates, but they actually go to site visits, things as far flung as Bach Tower Gardens or things like Folly Farm and Safety Harbor. So this might be really interesting to them.
Oh, we would love to have them. We had Hillsborough County Master Gardeners and Tia Silvasi, who is I think in charge of the Hillsborough County program, was actually the one that sort of introduced us to the grant, and she helped us all along the way.
Great.
And we also had visits from the north of Tampa. I guess it's Pasco Master Gardeners came one time.
Okay.
But yeah, we'd love to have Pinellas.
If they want to get in touch with y'all, would they go through the on this? I see the VistaGardenTampa.org site.
Yes, they could do that, or they could email us. There's but we would love to show them. We'd love to show our work.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm sure they'd love to have you guys. I mean, I don't know if you've been to the gardens in Largo, but it's beautiful, and they do have a native area too. among all the other, the tropical fruit garden and, you
Hmm.
know, the wedding garden and things.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, no, you know, it's like kindred spirit. We'd love to have them.
yeah,
Mhm.
okay, I will let them know.
Okay, thanks.
Are there other questions for Elizabeth? Okay, well, I have a couple. So as now that the project, like the larger part of the project is complete, have you guys had to go in and kind of do continual maintenance to keep the pepper at bay? I know pepper is pretty good at popping up from seeds, and so I just wonder what kind of work you guys have had to do to continue to maintain this project.
Okay, so the Brazilian pepper, there's a few like small ones pop up. That's not the problem now. The problem is now that there's all this open space, we have like the smaller weeds like Caesar weed and air potato and that sort of stuff. Really, the Brazilian pepper, there may be a handful of them, but because we dug them out, almost all of them, that's not the problem now. We have to keep an eye on it for the future. But no, the Brazilian pepper isn't the problem. It's the smaller stuff.
Well, if you ever need help or support, let me know. We do give a day for the Bay events.
okay.
So these are half-day volunteer events, and I know one person on staff specifically wants to do a Caesar weed pull. So that might be something that we'd be interested in partnering on. I know you have pretty good support from USF volunteers, but just keep that in mind.
Cool. Okay.
And then I was also wondering, so we did a large pepper removal at the St. Pete College, the Bay Pines location.
Okay.
And we actually used a chipper and chipped all the Brazilian pepper and used it as paths. Like we put it on the path because that would naturally kind of keep any weeds or be like a natural weed barrier. So
Hmm.
in the future, if you do any other projects like that, just another kind of way to reuse the pepper if you don't want to just send it to the landfill to
Hmm. Yeah, we didn't have
Both.
access to a chipper shredder, but would have
Okay.
loved to have done that. We just didn't have access to it.
Yeah, it was a little bit expensive for us to rent one for the project, but
Oh, okay.
and then there was like the aerosols from the pepper being chipped that we had to deal with as the
Oh.
wind kicked up. But I think it was pretty effective for
Huh.
as like a weed barrier for the pathways. So
Well,
just
we,
yeah,
so
keep
we
that-
did, we did use the trunks to help with our trails.
Oh, okay.
So we did that. And we
Yeah.
took big old Chinese fan palms and would lay them down and then mulch over them for the path as well. But yeah, a chipper shredder would have been great. We just didn't have access to it.
Sure. Okay, and then my final question, I promise. I saw in your pictures, and I'm sorry, I haven't been out to the gardens yet, but I saw that you had like almost like a pole barn structure out there. Have you ever considered installing any like gutters around the side of the barn or the shade structure that could then be kind of directed into rain barrels so that you
We
could
have it, yeah.
Oh,
Can-
okay.
Can you see it on my screen?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, we have two of these.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, and so
Okay.
we have another rain barrel back in the back, just because it's, far away, but we have two of those, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So then never mind, disregard.
Okay. That's a good idea. But yeah, so there's a path that goes back here, and that's like an apartment or like a condo or apartment type complex right there. So it abuts right into a residential area.
Oh, okay. Wow, yeah, the condos I could think I see the condos in the background and yeah, it's
Yes.
pretty close.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Well, are there any lingering questions for Elizabeth?
Oops, I just have this is Sue. I just have a couple questions. It's so impressive. I mean, I was on the Golden Mangrove Committee. I think Jan, I'm not sure who else is here, and we just were really impressed. Especially with the different volunteers you got. And I was wondering, and maybe Jessica can answer this, it seems like the new grant awardees would benefit from hearing Elizabeth because this thing is so, impressive with how it was managed. I didn't know if you could set up if Elizabeth would be willing to do that. And then the other question, just, it seemed like you had a great relationship with USF. Do you have any plans to have ongoing cleanups with them and maintenance?
Oh, well, they have been coming to Vista Gardens before this even started. So they come every 2 weeks during the school year, and they don't necessarily just work on this. They also work on the regular community garden. So they've been coming all along, and we just kind of like appropriated them, and the gardeners were like in the very first few months, they let us have all the volunteers when we were loaded with Brazilian pepper. And then as the hard work died down, they got to go back to work doing the garden projects. So, yeah. And then we also have Sickles
Yeah,
High
and-
School. They come once a month and do stuff, but again, they need a little bit more guidance, shall we say.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Sue, I think that's a really great idea too. Something I've considered doing is with the informational webinars that I do for the Bay Mini Grants is inviting recent awardees or Golden Mangrove winners to just give like a little 5-minute, here's what we did and here's how it worked for us, and maybe inspire some ideas. But also what I did this year was I took what do you call it? Like feedback, I guess, from awardees that finished their projects. And one was like challenges, one is successes, one is like, what did you learn and what do you recommend for others doing similar work? So I've collected that info from everyone already, and I'm just not quite sure what to do with it now. So I just have it in like a document on my computer, and I'm not sure if I want to make it like pare it down and make it like a extra resource for potential awardees. I'm not sure, but if you have ideas, I'm all ears for that.
Thanks. Thank you, Jessica.
I wonder if we could also potentially do like a social, maybe at a CAC meeting, kind of like what we did a year or so ago when we invited all the new Bay Mini Grant awardees to the CAC meeting. And then I don't know if we could have like the CAC kind of hosting this event and then invite new Bay Mini Grant awardees and past ones and kind of do something like that as like a way to like a tech exchange, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would love to do something like that. I'm not sure what that looks like, if it's just as informal as it was last time, which was great because we got a chance to chat and like share ideas and whatever at one of the restaurants and bars near the CAC meeting, or if it's like Golden Mangrove winners or past award winners have a lightning round where they can share what they did, and then a lightning round of potential applicants that can ask questions and that kind of thing. I'm not sure.
Or like a panel, maybe a panel discussion with some past like Golden Mangrove winners, and they sit as like panelists.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know, I'll write it down and maybe we can workshop it.
Yeah. And if any of y'all here that aren't staff are, have any ideas turn in based on what we're talking about, reach out and let me know. Always down to do something new and different.
Awesome.
Hauser, put anything out? Thanks. Let's see.
Screen. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for presenting on your work. To reiterate what some others have said, you guys did an absolutely amazing job, and congratulations on your Golden Mangrove Award. We're super, super proud of the work that you did and all that you were able to accomplish with kind of a small $5,000 budget. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It was our pleasure, and it really helped, I think legitimize our project. So, yeah, I don't think we could have done it without the grant.
awesome.
All right,
Well-
thanks. I'm going to take off then.
All right. Well, thanks so much again for the
All right.
time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So the CAC also at the policy board presented another Golden Mangrove Award to Keep Pinellas Beautiful for their High Point restoration project. Tried to get the Golden Mangrove Review Committee to select just one, but they wouldn't let me. So, so just so that you guys are aware, there were 2 Golden Mangrove winners. And actually, this was the first time that Keep Pinellas Beautiful had ever won a Golden Mangrove. So that was pretty exciting for them. I know they were really, really excited to receive that from you guys. So up next, I'm going to shoot it over to Carly to talk about the Explore Tampa Bay project that she's just completed.
Thanks, Sheila. Sorry, there's a baby bunny in my backyard that I was a little bit distracted by. It's very cute.
Oh,
Share.
make sure to keep the cats inside.
Oh, they're sitting at the window staring it down. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. So if you have not heard yet, we, along with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Research Institute, created this Explore Tampa Bay guide. That is just a website that has a lot of different resources that are able to be used if you like going outside in Tampa Bay. So it is just this story map here, and I'm just kind of going to go through it and talk through some of the things that are available on it. So the first thing we have is a boating and fishing map. Get that little thing. So you'll see lots of different boat ramps there, fishing piers. You can see the legend, all the different things that are included. And then if you have a specific one that you want to click on A.L. Anderson Park. It'll zoom up on it, and it'll tell us all of the details that they have about that park or marina or whatever it is. All of that data is hosted by FWC from wherever they're getting it from. I don't actually know. But I'm gonna make this full screen. And it does also work on a phone. The map is a little bit harder on the phone, but definitely usable. So you can see it has boat ramps, fishing piers, clean marinas, recycling bins for fishing line, and artificial reefs. You cannot click on it from the map, but the artificial reefs will tell you what type of material they are if you're interested in fishing at any of those. And you can scroll down here to see all of the different. I right now just have boat ramps selected, so it's just going to show me boat ramps. But here I can also see all of the fishing piers, etc., etc. So that is the boating and fishing map. And you can also change which county if you just want to look at a specific county. You can select different things like a standalone boat ramp. If I do, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Pretty sure you can select something different there, but I'm clicking something wrong right now, so I don't know. But yeah, so that is the map for boating and fishing specifically. Under there, we have some information about Tampa Bay and some of those boating and fishing activities, including all of the safety courses that are required and fishing requirements, as well as some information about boating regulations on the bay. Also have our Seagrass Safe information in there with a link to click to the actual Seagrass Safe website to try to prevent some of that seagrass scarring and encourage safe boating. We also have a link, if you have not heard about it, to the patrol program by Tampa Bay Waterkeeper. I'm gonna open this somewhere else. That'll let you report all different kinds of things, fish kills, algae blooms, oil spills. They kind of just made a one-stop shop for anything you may see on the water, so that you can go and have all those numbers or websites to report in one place. Like I said, all of the fishing requirements, that's there, ethical angling information. And then we have some other activities besides boating and fishing. So we have paddling, as well as some of these kayak trails that you can visit. Those will each have a different map associated with them. Diving and snorkeling regulations in the bay. And the second map is kind of more land recreation. It is the Parks and Preserves map that looks just like the other one, but instead it'll have any parks, wildlife refuges, aquatic preserves, and you can, these numbers just mean that when you're zoomed out, there's 16 different things in that area. So when you zoom in, it'll separate them all out. Let's do a state park. So you can see, usually, oh yeah, if they have fees, some of them have the information for what the fee is, where they're getting the information from. It doesn't always have it, but it will let you know if there is a fee. Of course, right there. So one of them, I think it's parks. No, it doesn't have what I was thinking of. But you can click right there. It'll immediately get you directions. So if you're accessing it from the phone, if you know that you're going to a certain area, you can zoom into that area, say, oh, what parks are in this area, and then immediately stick it into your GPS and go right there. Some more information about those land activities. We have the Leave No Trace principle information, as well as this will have a list of all of the county parks separated out by county. Those are all on the map as well. But if you just want a list of the ones that are in each county, you can get to it from here. Same with the state parks and the aquatic preserves. Again, all of these are on that map. This is just a different way to access that information. On the bottom is going to have a sort of like the patrol program. It's going to have a lot of different resources for anything you might need on the water or on land while you're out exploring Tampa Bay. And we also have, see if this shows up, right there. These little stickers that next time we're in person, I can hand these out to you guys. They have the QR code that'll take you right to that website. So if you have this somewhere easily accessible, you can go right to that website and it will get you to all that information. So little quick overview of the informational guide, but if you have any questions, please let me know.
I feel like this is maybe the information that people are sometimes looking for when they go to the Water Atlas. Do you know if it's linked in the Water
I don't
Atlas somewhere?
think
or vice
so.
versa?
Do you have the contact for who does that?
I bet Jan would know.
I do.
It's not me.
It's not. She's like, I'm not there.
I can't even log in anymore. My email is disconnected, but no, David Eilers can take care of that.
David Eilers, okay.
Yeah, Carly, you could also go through Marcus. He kind of runs, it's like project manager for our Water Atlas.
Okay.
And so you could go through him and he could help get you in contact.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
And
Eilers, EILERS at USF.edu.
Okay, thank you.
Seems like this would be good for the airport too, if you had a, like a rack card for the airport, along with all the other stuff that they put out for people who are visiting here for all the attractions and stuff.
That would be awesome. Yeah, because I would
And
love
to put the
for,
QR code on there.
yeah, for visitors to have that information would be really helpful.
Yeah, we might be able to partner with like Visit St. Pete and
Yeah.
get theirs. Or if there's like larger like rental property groups. I know a couple of the big ones in Bradenton that we could like have some rat cards or stickers placed in some of the houses when people
Okay.
check in.
Boat,
But
boat rental companies.
Chambers.
We have Freedom Boat Club was going to put the QR code and the little stickers in all of their informational packets for their new boaters. And we have talked to some of the other boat rental companies. We're trying to get some more of them to include it.
And also jet ski rental and stand-up paddleboard rental, that kind of thing. Kayak rentals.
Good ideas.
And actually, the like reverse of that too, would it be appropriate to have like outdoor outfitting companies somewhere? I wouldn't want it to seem like we are supporting them specifically, but if we include everybody, I don't know, then
That can be hard to maintain and keep up to date too, because companies go in and out of business and change contact information. Where the parks and stuff are pretty stable.
yeah, hopefully. Oh, and I was gonna say they're sort of vice versa with the water atlas, maybe having that somewhere on Explore Tampa Bay is like, and here's somewhere you can go to find water quality and whatever.
Yeah. I'll have to see who we have to edit this anymore because the person who created this is no longer with FWC.
So on the water atlas, there's on each one of the water resource pages, there's a link to
Mhm.
recreation information. That's
Mhm.
where it should go. Is that would show up on all the water resource pages?
Yeah.
And then also on it links over to so it has, I don't think it's specific to the water resource, but that recreation page is linked on all the water resources. So it should definitely go on there.
Okay. And Nadine, I see your message. That is awesome. Would you be looking for rat cards or just the stickers?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone else has contacts where they are able to connect me with any of these entities or know someone that would be willing to take some of the stickers, let me know. We can definitely get those to you.
Carly,
Anybody? Yeah.
overview.
What?
So thank you. I appreciate the overview. Great,
You're
awesome
welcome.
work. Just so that folks know, historically, this information was in like this large, almost kind of like a rat card, but in like this like fold out brochure that was kind of cumbersome and not on like really good waterproof paper, which is a challenge when you're on the water. So way to go, and kudos to Carly for making this a virtual, kind of putting this on a virtual platform.
So we linked to the digital version of those old maps on the water atlas. So would you want those maps removed?
We've been trying to kind of replace the old maps with this. They do still have the printed version of the maps, but FWC has been giving this website instead of the digital version of those maps.
If you want those links to the old ones removed, let David know that.
Okay.
Cool. All right, Jessica, you want to go?
Somebody just turned the light off down here, so I'm sitting in the dark. Just so you know. I don't even know where the switch is. Whatever. Okay. Just me and the computer screen, I guess. Okay, so So Bay Mini Grant is currently open, in case you didn't already know that, by a bajillion different ways that I've probably told you by now. We are going to need judges for Bay Mini Grants, reviewers, and that will happen from Bay Mini Grants close on September 13th, so roughly September 15th to about October 15th, something like that. So if you're interested in that, holler. I am going to send an email out, so you don't necessarily have to say so right now. As long as you do receive CAC emails, then you'll get that notification. I think Liz and I'm not sure if the other woman is still here. I forgot her name. But a couple people that I hadn't seen before in a while. Just make sure you're getting CAC emails so you get that information. The only other thing I wanted to mention is we are gonna start the pilot program of the pilot of the ambassador program, which is basically a targeted community engagement and community outreach program for the estuary program's mission, protecting and restoring Tampa Bay. So the reason for that is to engage groups that maybe we haven't historically engaged well or enough, and increase the capacity in those communities to do more restoration and conservation work and figure out what they need to be supported, provide information, and share information with us as staff and as community leaders on the CAC from different communities. So we're hoping to put a little more sort of a little bit more of a targeted approach toward some of the community engagement. When we do this, we're going to advertise it in, I want to say starting in October or November. Yeah, November, I think, and then close it in February. This is going to be like a part-time paid contract position. So this person will be someone who is being paid to be a representative of the estuary program and to bring information to the estuary program. Ideally, we have many, many different applicants from many different demographics, whether that be across the spatial watershed, across the income diversity, across racial diversity, across all kinds of different ways that we identify. And what I want to figure out is what is the best way to evaluate those applications essentially when we get them in February. I, of course, want the CAC to be heavily involved. I would really like to expand the review committee to people who are in the different communities that are being targeted for outreach. So I'm curious if anyone has experience with something like this, potentially recruiting reviewers from the different communities who haven't been involved in the estuary program before, but are considered leadership in their different communities. If you have experience with this, if this sounds like something you're interested in, I definitely want to talk about this more. And it will probably be outside of a CAC meeting, could even be just like you and I chatting about it. But is that anything that any of y'all here right now may be interested in? Either brainstorming or actually helping do.
Hey, this is Megan. This is something we're doing with the Coastal Master Plan at the RPC. We're trying to evaluate community-based organizations for a limited stipend. We only have so much money, but we want to pay people to participate. So we're asking ourselves just the same questions. So it sounds like we will have it figured out before, well, figured out. We will be implementing it before February. So I'm happy to talk about that with you more.
Okay, cool. Anyone else interested? If not, that's okay. Okay, well, Megan, I'll definitely follow up with you about this later. Maybe when I'm not sitting in a dark hostile basement in Spain.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
We also, another reminder, Blake Simmons, the social scientist at the estuary program, is preparing for 2 focus groups. One focused on fertilizer use and then one focused on private sewer lateral line inspections. So he is looking for some CAC volunteers to help out with some of this work. Specifically, the tasks will include piloting certain test questions, so running through the surveys, sharing opinions of our past efforts, what you think worked, what you think didn't work, and sharing some of your perceptions of behavioral barriers. So what are the barriers for the behavior changes that we'd like to see? So if you're interested in kind of contributing to this work, please reach out to Blake. His email is on the agenda. I can also drop it in the chat for you guys, but just so that you're mindful of that. Again, the focus groups are specifically focused on fertilizer use, and then another one on private sewer lateral line inspections. So really like our Be Floridian campaign and then the Pipe Up campaign. Another thing that I want to remind everybody about, it's getting to that to the end of the quarter. So please use the CAC contribution form to enter your hours that you contributed to the estuary program. Please report them to us. We like to showcase your amazing work and your amazing support to our program. So the deadline for that, I did change it. Originally I had July 31st, but that's like way too close to our other board meetings. So if you could get that information in by July 25th, that would be greatly appreciated. If the form doesn't work for you, you're also welcome to email me the events or just the hours that you volunteered. I know a couple of you guys do that, and that's totally fine. And then I enter it into the form on the back end. But again, this just lets us kind of showcase to our management and policy board all the amazing work that you guys do, and really the value of the CAC. Also want to make you aware of some upcoming events. We have the Great Bay Scallop Search on August 2nd. This has not been officially announced yet. For this event, we partner with Tampa Bay Watch, and so we're kind of support on this. So they really lead this citizen science or participatory science project. But for this event, it is an on the water event. So you can participate using a boat, you can participate using paddle boards or kayaks, but it is on water. So you do have to have some sort of vessel. We have 3 different locations that you can participate from. So there is the largest one is at Fort DeSoto. And then there's also one at Grandview on the south side of St. Pete. And then we have our newest site, which is in Manatee County at Emerson Point Preserve. So kind of getting a better understanding of what the scallop population is in Tampa Bay. So all the data that's collected goes into our State of the Bay and our scallop count reporting. So this is super important information. So if you are interested in participating in this, please stay tuned. We'll be sharing all of the information here, I think at the end of July, right, Carly? Beginning of July? Sometime soonish.
Yeah, it should. They said it'll be up by the end of the week, but it will definitely be in the newsletter that goes out July 1st.
Awesome. Thanks, Carly. Yeah, so it usually does fill up quick. So if you're interested, make sure to sign up as soon as you get Carly's amazing newsletter. Any questions on that or the fertilizer or the focus group? Okay. The next thing I want to mention, we are approaching National Estuaries Week in September. So it's September 20th through the 27th. Right now, we are partnering, that's kind of like the tail end of a Latino Conservation Week. So we are partnering with the kayak anglers to host a video, like a film night. And I think that's September 20th. Am I correct on that? I think it's September 20th.
That sounds right. It was either the 19th or the 20th.
Yeah.
That's a, that's a Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are gonna do that. We historically have done the Brews by the Bay, which is like a game night kind of activity with Sarasota Bay Estuary Program. I don't know if any of you have any ideas about specific projects or activities you think that we should do to celebrate our amazing estuary. But if you have anything in particular, I think last year Jessica led a trek and chat. I think there was a climate and like coffee and climate event too. We were supposed to have a couple other events that got canceled because of Hurricane Helene, so that wasn't fun. But hopefully this year we're not gonna have any hurricanes to disrupt any of the fun. So if you have any ideas for different projects or maybe specific areas you'd like to see an event occur, please reach out to myself or any of our communication staff so that we can make sure we get it on the agenda for that week. And that is all I have. I'll now open it up to the general CAC to see if anybody else has any thing that they would like to mention, any upcoming events, anything you're thinking about.
Oops. Raise hand there.
Go for it, Jan.
On August, probably the 23rd, but maybe the 24th, or maybe both, we're not sure yet, probably August 23rd. We're gonna participate, the Florida Native Plant Society is going to participate in the Great Southeastern Pollinator Count, which is run by the University of Georgia, I think. We're going to have a pollinator count at Moccasin Lake Nature Park and the Butterfly Garden. And I believe the Safety Harbor Garden Club is also going to do one at Folly Farm. So that should be fun.
Sounds amazing.
Kind of a citizen science thing. And you don't have to act. This made me happy because I was wondering how we're going to identify these things. But fortunately, they only have you identify kind of a category, either bumblebee, honeybee, small bee, wasp. So you don't have to be able to tell what genus and species it is or anything.
Jan, is that open to the public?
Yeah, I need to get with the park manager at Moccasin Lake and we're going to organize it, but we're going to try to get some other nonprofits involved. Native Plant Society will have a table. We'll probably have some other groups have tables there too with information about pollinators and little giveaways, and we might have a plant raffle. I don't know. I need to talk to Lloyd about it, but I got the count sheets and everything, so we just need to, figure out the details.
If you want me to include that in the newsletter and you're able to get me something by the end of the week, I can.
By when?
The end of the week this week?
I'll try.
Okay.
Ask Lloyd, but it's up to him when he wants to do it. So I don't know whether he wants to do it on Saturday or Sunday. I'm thinking it'll be Saturday. But I would need to confirm with him first and the time.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, just let me know.
I'll find out.
And if you ever want to partner to do something like that, let me know. I'm super into the pollinator world right now. Now that I had some milkweeds and then like a bazillion baby monarch caterpillars that we've been raising. So let me know. We'd love to partner on something like that with you, either for this event or something in the future. Anybody else have anything?
Hi, this is Garrett. In case
Go ahead, Garrett.
Sorry. In case anyone's interested, Hillsborough County is hosting a sea oat planting at Apollo Beach Preserve on July 12th. It's a Saturday.
And I do have that in our newsletter, so.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
No,
great.
that's great. I was just letting you know. I have it on there, so hopefully we'll get some more people.
Thanks, Garrett. Carly, did you have something else you wanted to add?
I was just gonna, Jan, were you the one that brought the privet senna seeds to the last CIC meeting?
Yeah.
Mine are doing so well. I'm gonna show them to you.
Yeah.
See if this works. We'll
Should
go in
get
a little-
lots of sulfur butterflies.
I hope so. They're still on my grow shelf right now, but
You know that privet senna produces so many more seeds. Oh my gosh, look at that.
Look at you.
Excellent.
so thank you for those.
I have Bahama cassia too, but it does not produce as many seeds as that privet cassia.
Okay.
But the sulfurs don't care. They like them both.
Yeah.
Well, anytime you have extra native seeds, feel free to keep bringing them to the CAC meeting.
Okay, we'll do.
I planted some too, but unfortunately I went to a conference in Portland and all my seeds died, all my milkweed seeds that I harvested and like planted, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have like 2 trays of these when I get back, and no.
I have very mixed success with seeds myself because I have the same sort of thing happens all the time. I get distracted and forget to water them or something.
Yeah, usually it's pretty okay, but I've been trying to like harvest native seeds and grow them out, and I'm very minimal success. Some of our staff have heard me talk about what a failure it's been, which is traumatic for me as like a plant biologist, but
Well, Sheila, I plan to save some of those plants for you so you can have some.
Carly, that setup is pretty impressive.
Thanks. I love it. It brings me so much joy.
Well, I hope you get lots of butterflies.
Thanks. Me too.
alrighty. Well then, kind of to end, the next meeting is October 22nd. And for that meeting, I'm thinking about partnering with Oyster River Ecology to make some oyster rag pots. So for those of you who haven't built those yet, they're basically like, what do you call it? Like rags dipped in marine grade sediment and then hung over like some bamboo pieces, and then it creates this cute little pot that then is put in the water for oyster recruitment. So really fun to make. He actually had a fundraising event, and we took like our 5-year-old, and so that was a lot of fun for kids and adults. And so I just think it would be a really awesome, fun kind of team building thing for the CAC to participate in. So.
And if you want to know more about him, I think he's got YouTube videos that show Oyster River Ecology making them.
Yeah, he has a bunch of stuff.
Pretty fun. Wear old clothes.
Yeah, I'll give everybody details of the specific attire. So if we're still working out the time. So if 4:30 in person doesn't work for you, let me know. We can kind of shift the time around. But so yeah, just something to look forward to. Anything else for the good of the group? Okie doke. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for popping on. I really appreciate it. It's great to see all of you virtually. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Until then, enjoy the summer and happy Independence Day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Everybody. Okay.